What's going on, fam? How y'all doing today? It is actually Tuesday, January the 27th. Of course, I'm Ryan. It's my beautiful wife, Danielle. As you can see, we are not on the food truck today. We actually haven't been out on the food truck since Friday. We was actually supposed to work at Amazon yesterday. With the ice storm going across the U.S., we got caught up in all that mess. So our work got canceled for yesterday. We still trying to keep this channel going, trying to keep y'all motivated, trying to educate you, and just basically help you relate. So we don't take no time off. We still doing the videos, and basically what we came up with, while we sitting here just waiting to go back to work tomorrow. We should be back in the swing of things tomorrow. Have a fresh video for y'all or whatever. But 10 videos in. I think we're at least 10 or 11 videos in now on our channel. We appreciate everybody that's watching, the subscribers that we do have. I think last update that we had, I think we had like 13 subscribers. We're up to 20 now. Like I said, obviously, those 20 people that subscribe, as well as the viewers that didn't subscribe. You're watching the videos, we're seeing the views, so we're thinking that we're headed in the right direction, that we're giving some value. Like I told you before, we're trying to shorten the videos up to get to the meat and potatoes, like I always say, but at the same time, just show you little snippets now that we're working on the truck, that we're actually still working on the truck. So, hence, like I said, I'm always trying to give you some credibility to what we're doing. As like I said, I feel like we could talk about this topic, whereas you may see other videos online, you don't know if they run a food truck or not. They give you the info and they tell you what to do, but how do you know that they're practicing what they preach? Basically, that was my whole thing. 5 years ago, we started this. We didn't see anything like that. We got the information, but nobody was giving us the nitty gritty, the day to day. How I know you really do that? You telling me this, or you getting the info yourself offline and just putting the videos out there. But right here, Danielle and myself, Family Fair Hometown Cooking. You see us on the food truck. You see us working. So, like I said, I feel like we got some credibility. You may not feel that way. That's your opinion. But anyway, topic of the day is, like I said, 10, 11 videos in. You actually don't know our story, how we got into the business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss it over to Danielle. I'm going to come back in with my story. But this is something that she felt like she really wanted to talk about to help you relate. Like I said, we're going to help you. We're going to motivate, educate, and Danielle felt like this is a topic that she can really help you relate to, because there may be other people in the same situation. But enough from me. You done heard enough from me. Let me toss it over to Danielle. And like I said, I'll jump back in with my story as well.
So, fam, as Brian was pointing out, we have been doing this for 5 years, but the question is, what were we doing prior to that 5 years? So, as you've heard in previous videos or may hear, my background is in healthcare, and that was my passion. It's something that I've always wanted to do since I could remember, was healthcare. In healthcare, I started out as a certified surgical tech. That was my passion. And for those of you who do not know what that is, I would be the person to go in and set up the operating room to prepare the surgeon to do whatever surgery it may be. Cardiac has always been my first love. That's where I started out at. So I was that person setting up the room for maybe perhaps you or a loved one or someone you know that had to have some type of cardiac or thoracic or vascular surgery. That was me. I did that work for well over 15 years, and I truly loved it. I loved it so much that I went back to school to become a certified surgical first assistant. So you may ask, well, what is a certified surgical first assistant? Well, I transitioned into the person that was literally operating with the surgeon on you or your loved one. So it became more about actually being hands-on, sewing you up, putting on dressings, whatever it may be that the surgeon needed for me. I evolved or grew up in ranks, as it were, from just setting up the room and passing instrumentation to actually being the surgeon's right hand to operate with him or her during surgery. And I wanted to put this video out there because when you have something that is your passion, that you love, during that time, it just feels like there's nothing that's going to take you away from that because you enjoy it. It's not just a job for you. You enjoy it, you love it, and you thrive on just being there, doing the work, putting the work in. Well, 5 years ago, I, was working for the private sector in doing surgery. And this group, this entity shall remain nameless. And I did everything. I was the surgical tech. I was the surgical first assistant. I was SPD. In SPD, for those of you who do not know, that is sterile processing. The people who actually clean the instrumentation. I did that. I did inventory. I did the ordering. I did a lot of things for this said company. And I enjoyed it. It was a lot of work. I enjoyed it. Well, COVID comes along. And not to go too deep into that, but some things transpired while working for said employer. And no one knew how serious COVID was going to be at this time, not even said employer. But it was said to me through the reps that I worked with to do ordering for said company that you need to make sure that you get ahead of this to get the supplies you needed. When I say supplies, I'm talking about N95 masks, which are the particulate masks that keeps out harmful airborne bacteria from you breathing it in. Also the gowns that we wear to protect us during surgery or even minor procedures. So I brought this up to said employer. Said employer at the time wanted to hold off because we really didn't know where this was headed. And I can't take liberties to basically play with someone else's money and say, well, I know she said wait, but I know better. I'm going to go ahead and order said equipment. So said equipment did not get ordered. I was waiting. And then the bottom fell out. And COVID hit so fast and so hard till it was said that no elective surgeries will be done. It would only be done for those particular surgeries that needed to be done. So what does that mean for the private sector that's doing elective surgeries? Meaning surgeries that are a choice. It doesn't have to be done, but it is a choice by the person to have it done. That meant that we could not order masks. That meant that we could not order gowns because we were taken away from major hospital systems and community hospital systems that needed those particular items just to be able to tend to those ones coming in with COVID. So that put things to a halt. Anyway, long story short on that, I was let go because it was said that I didn't order masks. When I know for well that I was told to hold on the mask because you wanted to see where it was going. And by the time you figured out you needed or wanted to order masks, it was just too late. It was too late, and they were not going to allocate masks or gowns. And not just any masks. These N95 masks and gowns, if they were not already allocated to you. Anyway, that story is a long drawn out topic, but I bring this up to say to you that when that happened, it rocked my whole world because I knew that I was a outstanding employee. I have done everything that was asked of me to do and even beyond, and they knew it. When it got time for evaluations, I got 5s on my evaluation. An employee that's not doing their job is not going to get a 5 on their evaluations. And a 5 is really quite hard to do, but I love what I did so much. When that happened, I was devastated. I felt some type of way. And it was just like, I can't believe this is happening. And right in the midst of COVID, what are we going to do? How am I going to take care of my family now? And I felt betrayed. So I said to myself, I am never, and I do mean never, am going to allow myself to be put in a situation where someone has the power to take away my ability to provide for my family. And I just felt like, okay, this has happened. What am I going to do? I felt crushed. I felt depressed. I felt like my world is just coming to an end. What am I going to do? At the time, I really didn't know, because I was just drowning in just frustration and depression. But what I did know in the back of my mind is that I'm never going to give no one that power over me again, to be able to take away the ability from my family and not to eat. This said employee just basically tossed me to the side. Felt like I wasn't doing my job, was not willing to take responsibility for their said part in this whole situation. You can only do so much when you work for someone else, and they will always hold the puppet strings, as it were. And when people say that you are just a number, that really is true. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced anything like this, or something to that, where you go to work and you give your all, but you come out feeling like you're just a number, because the minute something goes left, they just let you go. No regards to your family, what you got going on, no matter how hard you work for them, the outstanding accolades that you get. It's like that just goes away as if it never happened. That one defining moment about mask wound up making me lose my job. And I personally wasn't at fault. Could I have said, okay, I hear you, but I'm going to go behind your back and order these supplies and you'll thank me later? I could have, but I didn't. Because what if COVID didn't turn out the way it was? I've just cost this employer money that they didn't need to spend. So my hands were kind of tied. Other issues were probably going on in the background, beknownst to me. All I know is what I was faced with. And my co-workers were shocked. They were stunned. They used to call me the golden girl in the office. But anyway, folks, going back into this, leading into the food truck industry, I knew that I had to come up with something. We had to do something so that no one could ever make us feel like we couldn't provide for our families. So when I told Brian, of course, about what happened, and said, well, hey, we've always talked about doing this food, doing food, whether it be a small restaurant or a food truck, that is something that I felt like we could do. I am a decent cook. I don't toot my own horn about that. I just knew that I come from a long line of family members that could cook. My dad, he was military. He was a chef. He cooked, so I picked up a lot of things from him. Anyway, we devised a plan. We prayed on it. And that was the beginning of us doing the groundwork to start our food truck business. Because when you work for someone else, you don't control what is going to happen as far as whether or not you're going to have a job the next day. But if you work for yourself, and if you expend yourself as much as you do for someone else in your own business, then you know that you stand a chance of making income or making a way for you and your family to survive, even if an employer lets you go. So that has been our driving motivation, our driving force behind continuing on in our food truck business. Before I elaborate even more, I'm going to let Brian tell you his why, his story, and what made him jump on board as well. Like, yeah, you're right. We need to make sure that we can secure the bag, as it were, for our family, to make sure that we can maintain and support them. So I'm going to hand it over to Brian and let him tell you his story about what happened to COVID. Not what happened to COVID, but what happened to him during COVID and his job.
So fam, like she said, his story. I'm taking you back in history. I'm taking you way, way back. Take you back to the early '90s. My very first job, fam, was in the restaurant industry. I actually started out working in a local restaurant in the area as a dishwasher. I moved my way up to a fry cook as well as to the line cook, being the main cook at the restaurant. So I got a little bit of background in basically how the truck, how the food industry works, and the equipment and knowing what to do. So I started that job when I was like 15 years old. I worked there through high school, all through high school. So basically, I had like 4 years background and working in the restaurant industry. And it was just something I reflected back on when we started this journey. But anyway, like I said, like I told you before, I always had entrepreneur spirit. So growing up, I would cut my neighbor's yard beside me. I had a couple of neighbors to my left, to my right, and I had a neighbor in the back of us or whatever. I would cut their grass or whatever. Like I said, not really knowing I had entrepreneur spirit, just knowing I was young. I wanted to make some money. You know, I want to have my own money, or I want to buy my own tennis shoes. I'm big. I was big into tennis shoes, the Jordans, the Nikes, the Reebok pumps. I know I'm telling my age right now, so you remember the Reebok pumps back in the day. But I just want to have my own sense of independence. So growing up, like I said, I always had entrepreneur spirit. I would go out do jobs with some of my father's friends that they worked on the roof, so I could put on shingles. But I was just always in that learning process and just seeing what other people are doing, and it just gave me that push to go ahead and do stuff. And like I said, I had my own entrepreneur spirit growing up as well. Like I said, I'm born in the '70s, raised in the '80s, so I came up through the hip hop era. So I had a love for hip hop. I had a love for music, even at that early age, probably 13, 14, whatever it may be. I had the turntables, the records, had all that. So at that particular time, I was doing, I just did it for the love. I love music. I got into DJing, love DJing, and we actually was set up in my cousin's backyard. We had a turntable set up, just do the '80s hip hop thing. And as I grew older, of course, like I said, like I told you before, I eventually started DJing for myself. Really, what happened was, once I graduated, life kind of took over. I moved out at an early age, had my own bills, whatever, and I kind of got away from the music and the turn. I always loved music, but I got away from the DJing aspect of it. But eventually down the road, I picked up a couple more turntables, got some records, started building my business up, or started building my collection up. And like I said, I still had that love, so that burning desire once came out to me again in the DJing. So like I said, being an entrepreneur, even though I had a love for the music, I eventually seen where I could make money with something that I love as well. So that's what's basically what ended up happening. Started DJing. Shout out to my man EJ. He really was the one that put me on at probably about 20, 21 years old is when I picked it up again. He actually got me into the clubs. He was big in the area. In my opinion, one of the greatest DJs around. Just like his style, like how he handled the crowd, how he did everything. So he was a big influence, not only in helping me to get a stepping stone in DJing, but he had the entrepreneur mind spirit as well. So I learned a lot from him about entrepreneurship, just being with him. And it's probably been a good 15 years or more since I've DJed. But me and him, we still in touch. We still cool. We probably talked to him a couple of months ago. But like I said, he was just a big influence in my life at that time as going through my entrepreneur journey. As well as, like I said, I had my own FedEx ground truck. If you know anything about what FedEx Ground is, you're actually your own independent contractor, but you have the FedEx banner. So I own my own truck, had truck payments, had insurance, had to pay for my own fuel. I didn't work directly for FedEx like some people do. So, like I say, even at that time, not really putting two and two together that I'm doing an entrepreneur thing because it still seemed like a job. They did supply the work, or they supplied the packages and the routes, but I still was responsible for my own stuff and learning how to run a business. Because that's what I had to do. It was a 1099. I had to file my own taxes and do this and this and this and that. So um, went on from that. Like I told you before, I worked at the food distribution center. Worked at Cisco. Worked for Coke or whatever. And at the particular time, once we were starting, before we started the food truck, I was actually working for Cisco at the time. A lot of you probably don't know. Some of you may or may not know, but Cisco's main clients or source of revenues are restaurants and schools. Those are like their main biggest accounts. They may have little mom and pops, a grocery store or something here and there, but their main revenue is dealing with the school system. That's important to keep in mind, and dealing with restaurants. Keep in mind, Danielle told you that when we started this business, it was because of COVID. So keep in mind, during COVID, what happened? All the schools shut down in the United States. A lot of the restaurants shut down. You couldn't go out to eat. You remember that period of time in during COVID? So that being Cisco's bread and butter, nobody's going out to the restaurants. Kids are not going to school. Who we selling food to? So at that time, I think I had been working for Cisco maybe two years or so. Even after that 2 years, they do have a high turnover ratio. They actually had a meeting. They had called a meeting for the employees, and they had certain names, certain people they called. Like, if your name is called, you need to go to this conference room. Your name called, you need to go to the conference room. You don't really know what's going on. We didn't know whether they was pulling back or what's going on. Are we doing this now since since the schools and the restaurants closed down? So I walk into the conference room, us and probably good 15, 20 other guys. Walk in, it's a couple of sheriffs deputies standing there. Like, this is odd. Like, okay, what's going on here? Like, we really didn't know what's going on. You all going to the conference room, you got the sheriff standing there, so now your antennas are really up. Long story short, they called us in to let us know, okay, we have a significant decrease in product going out. We don't need as many workers. We still need some here, because I think at that time they were still kind of doing to-go orders. So you still had some restaurants that could function, but schools were closed. That was a total loss of income for Cisco at that point in time. So naturally, if you have a decline in work, you don't need as many employees to do the work that was previously needed to get these packages out. Like I said, just trying to really keep it short. Basically, they called all us in that room to let us know, okay, guys, your services are no longer needed. Because this is what happened. This is the intern effect. We gotta let y'all go. So it all starting to make sense now. Why they called us in there, the last to come, first to go. They got the sheriffs in there, basically because if anybody started acting the fool, getting out of hand, they got the sheriff there to really take care of it. It wasn't that serious. Everybody, all my employees, all us pretty much cool. We work together. I didn't get that vibe from any employee that would happen, because it is what it is. So obviously, they seen a different direction, had the sheriff there just in case. I don't even remember. I think we might have been escorted out as if we was fired. If you ever been terminated from a job before, they normally walk you out. So they had the sheriff there, and they actually, like, walked us out. Like, thank you for your services, but no thank you. Bye. Get on out with these sheriffs. So that's basically what happened. And during that time that I was gone from Cisco, because eventually they did call us back, just that initial shock of or reality of being let go, it puts you, it makes you really think at that time, like, okay, they really control my life, my income. Like I always tell you, at the end of the day, it's business. It's not personal. So they was taking care of what they need to take care of on their end as far as their business. But like Danielle said, they don't care about what you got going on. Like you already got a house payment, you already got the car payment, your light bill ain't gonna stop, your insurance ain't gonna stop. At that particular time, my son and my daughter was still living at home. They still got to eat, but Cisco didn't care about that. So, and that's what any job probably, just being real, being realistic. So, like Danielle said, with that going on, not only with her, but then it happened with me, we said, okay, we have to do something to put ourselves in a position that if this ever happens again, that we are still able to sustain or maintain our style of life, or the style of life that we have already built up to keep paying our bills without depending on somebody else. So really, like I said, that's just dropping a gem, a nugget for you, to make people think you guys out there that have jobs. Like I said, we did the video. I don't think you've seen the video. We got a video coming out. Should I work a 9 to 5, or should I have a food truck? But anyway, you don't want to put yourself in a position, or it makes you reanalyze your situation as to maybe what you can do yourself to, if this happens, that you still have some source of income. So the side hustles or whatever people doing, people trying to start businesses, being an entrepreneur, you're definitely not headed in the wrong direction into thinking like that.
Right. And, we'll be the first to tell you that this video is not made to go and bash employers or former employers, because at the end of the day, for Braun, it was a business decision that Cisco had to make. And from my point of view, from my perspective, it wasn't even so much a business decision. It was personal. I didn't get into the full story behind that, but anyway, that was crazy. We just want you guys to just think about that. If you've ever been in a situation where you're being let go and you've put in the work, you've done a great job, but it kind of feels like, they're handing you their tail to kiss, so to speak, is the politest way I can put it, to have a backup plan. Never back yourself into a corner where you don't have an outlet to try to provide for yourself or your family, because you're going to always be at that next job's mercy. And again, we're not bashing a 9 to 5. We're not bashing a 9 to 5 at all. We are just saying, do not give people or employers or jobs that much control over you to where one decision from them could destroy your life or make you feel like your life is being destroyed about how you're going to provide for your family. And keep in mind, this happened to us right during the middle of COVID, and we still got 2 kids at the house, and we're both without a job right now, trying to rely on unemployment to sustain us until we can find something else. So I felt very, sentimental about sharing this particular story with you guys, because I'm sure there's some people out there that can relate. It may not have been the exact same situation, but I'm sure people have been in a situation where they've been let go from their job for one reason or another, and you just kind of feel like, what am I going to do now? And we're here to tell you that everyone has some type of talent, hidden talent or something. But just don't put all your eggs in one basket and bank with an employer or a company that you've been with and get comfortable. Because at any moment, your job, your livelihood could be on the line, and then you're left with trying to figure out, what am I going to do?
So, like I said, we just here to help motivate. Just want to give you our story. Since, like I said, we're at least 10, we're at least 10 to 11 videos in. We just thought it was time to kind of share our story with you, to tell you how we got into the food trucking industry. But like I said, I'm always trying to motivate you if that's what you were pursuing to do. But I want to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and I want to give you the real. I want to give you the real story that maybe that you are facing or that other people are facing, as far as, like I said, not only maybe starting a food truck or whatever entrepreneur situation or entrepreneur business that you're looking to get into on your own. It's just some of the things you have to look at that I personally feel a lot of people don't really share the realness with you. They always share with you. They share with you the amount of money that they supposedly make, or just being my own boss. I got it made, this and this and that. A whole bunch of fluff and fronting and stunting and fakeness. And me personally, I'm not a fake person, and I don't appreciate the fakeness. Give me the real, so I can make, like I always say, make an educated decision on as to what I should do as far as doing any business. That fake it till you make it mess, I know you've heard it before. Don't believe the hype. Don't fall into it. People like real people. People want to hear the real. When people are asking you questions about, should I do this or should I do that, and we get a lot of stuff about that, question like that at the food truck. We tell people, yeah, definitely hit us up on Facebook or email or whatever, and we will be willing to talk to you and tell you what we're going to. Hence, like I said, getting back to it, this is why we started this channel here, because we have so many people that would say stuff like that. So Danielle and I just felt like this would be a good time, a good point in our journey to kind of pause, put the information out there for people that's really looking for it. So anybody that's out there following this channel, like I said, and looking at the videos and liking them, we definitely appreciate each one of y'all. Like I said, if you're finding some value in this and you think that the information that we're giving out is helping you out, please subscribe to the channel, because we will continue doing these videos on through 2026 and beyond. And like I said, if you drop any questions or comments or concerns in the comments that maybe we can address and do the videos and talk about it, because if you got that question, somebody else probably has that same question as well. So we probably, if you get to a point where we can't address each and every question, we just gonna do a general video so that everybody can get the information that we have. Like I said, I do not claim to be the expert. Danielle does not claim to be the expert. We are telling you what we experienced from family affair, hometowns, cooking point of view. But it looks like I don't have my glasses on, fam. Like we about 30 some minutes into the video. Like I said, we're just trying to get to the meat and to the potatoes now. As you can see, we've kind of changed the format, even with not as doing as long on the truck. It's showing us all the cooking. We're just trying to get to the topic, get to the meat and potatoes, because that's really what you're looking for, right? So that's what we're here for. But like I said, enough of that. I appreciate your time. Like I said, we're back to work tomorrow at our Wednesday spot. We will be doing a topic there tomorrow, dropping video with that as well. Because of this video here, you may see some of the other videos, even though we still say the date, they may be out of order or whatever. But this is just something that we felt like we wanted to talk about. Go ahead and get it on out there, because we see the channel growing. We want you to get to know us, to grow with us, and to basically just feel a certain level of comfort with us, and to feel the realness that's coming from us. But that's all I have to say. If they don't have nothing else to say,
yeah, fam, just keep it 100 with yourself. Be honest, be truthful for yourself. Let your why of why you're doing something be stronger than anything else. And again, being your own boss, it's not always glory. It's not always pretty. It's hard work. And again, anybody that has their own business will tell you that you need to try to make more than one avenue of income for yourself, not to just rely on one source of income, because anything can happen to you at any point in time. So be real, be honest and true to yourself, and look at your situation and make a sound decision. We're not saying to follow our path. We're not saying to just go out and just do something nilly-willy. We're just basically sharing with you our why of why we went forward into this food trucking industry, because of things that has happened to us on our regular 9 to 5, and it happened at the worst possible time during COVID. So family, like Brian said, we hope that you have taken something away from this and can now, see where you may need to go, or have questions about, how to get started in whatever endeavor that you may be trying to do for yourself. But family, look out for your family. Take care of you and yours. And until next time, we'll see you right back here at Family Affair.